of renewable energy via wind turbines as well as hydropower.
Now, do you feel that some of the incidents which occurred in Egypt, like the Russian plane falling on, which fell in the Sinai, do you feel that these are affecting the economy because it's affecting tourism? And to what extent and how can we overcome such the result of such events?
Unfortunately, such catastrophic events are becoming more and more enshrined everywhere in the world where we see those events happening. No doubt, this has left an impact over Egypt. This specifically comes in at the high season of tourism. However, such events always would have to be looked at carefully, examining if there are any shortcomings that we need to look at. For example, if we have any security breaches, how to better the system. As long as it is a learning experience, one would hope that such things, unfortunate incidents, to be averted. However, as we've just said, it's unfortunately such acts of disaster, act of terrorism, are becoming a menace to the entire world, and not only Egypt.
Now, from your field of expertise, what might be the challenges facing Egypt next year, in the year 2016?
There are the two major challenges that we've talked about in terms of investment and the economy. One would have to be the energy crisis. The second would have to be the controlling foreign exchange and the availability of hard currency. This is basically on the investment end. Talking about legislation, we also have to look at investment laws and how to better attract foreign direct investment. And in terms of the overall economy and the functioning of the country, it's basically how to better look at continuing at doing structural reforms to the country, because this, as we've talked about the four-quarter theory, how to avail as much possible of the budget in order to make expenditures on infrastructure, in medical care, education. The economy will only thrive. People will feel that there's a difference being made if you can avail as much space possible from the budget to do expenditures on the things that matter to the public.
Now, we all know that the main sources of the economy in Egypt, we have the Suez Canal and tourism, and they alternate. Right now, of course, it's the Suez Canal because tourism is down. Then we have some of the oil production, and of course, you're discussing, or you were talking about trying to introduce investments. Now, from your field of expertise, to what extent is or would the new Suez Canal extension add to our economy?
Well, I always try to shy away from looking at what I call a resource-based economy. Okay, so I don't want to position Egypt based upon the existence of the Suez Canal or tourism, but if we talk about income earner of Egypt, the biggest income earner for the government or in the budget is no doubt taxation. 66% of Egypt's income is made out of taxes. Okay, so what I want to look at is I want to look at the macroeconomic outlook is better than looking at the individual project. How to make the economy grow, because when the economy grow and you keep the same percentage, the percentage of taxation rate being kept constant, you're taxing the same rate out of bigger economy, so you're getting a bigger return. So what we're looking for here, projects like the Suez Canal, it's not only the canal but the development around the canal, the ability to attract investments in the three main investment areas which were built around the canal, because when these companies operate, they will employ people. When you employ people, they will pay income tax. When you generate production, you will pay sales tax and you will pay corporate tax. Hence, government can attract more income. This is the way where we should approach this. It's not a project-based or resource-based. It's how we can grow the economy as a whole, and with the taxation percentage being kept constant, the government can make bigger income, hence provide better service to the public.
Now, won't that require that we amend some of our laws to be investment friendly?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there are two areas here that we look at. I mean, there is the Unified Investment Law, which been discussed this year with some things still yet to be modified in this law. Then second, one has not to forget about small and medium-sized business, SMEs. Small and medium-size will represent or employs 70% of people are not employed in big corporates, but they are employed in small and medium-sized firms. So we also, not to take away from big business, not to take away from mega projects, we also have to look at laws which can be applied small and medium business in order for those businesses to thrive, because most of the Egyptians are employed in those businesses. So we have to look at the two ends, not only be focused on mega projects and forget about small and medium size.
But I think right now the situation doesn't help small and medium business or enterprises, because you have the renting. Like if you're renting a place, that's quite a high price right now. The electricity, the taxes, even the labor force, if you find it. So it's quite challenging for the small and medium enterprises. What can we do to help them?
As a matter of fact, the problem is not as much the availability of labor or the availability of resources. It is within the procedures for licensing. Take for instance the fact that I mean, if you want to open a small shop or a small company, the length of the process in order to obtain a license, the cost of obtaining a license, the conditions, the financing. I mean, if you're talking about how to provide microloans, small loans for business startups, those things are not very common. Although the government has started into doing several projects at the council levels, like the so-called mashru'ak, or your project at the council levels, there needs to be one more of awareness around those things. Second, easier procedures in order to enable youngsters and entrepreneurs to venture out and not wait for to be employed by the government, but rather be able to do their own projects successfully.
Now, I'd like also to ask you about the foreign or the Egyptian abroad. They right now have started a lot of initiatives to try to promote food tourism. Also, the government in Egypt, like the Ministry of Antiquities as well as the Ministry of Tourism. We have This Is Egypt. We have other initiatives to promote food tourism. To what extent would such initiatives be effective?
I mean, it has to work. I mean, you have the majority of the world antiquities is in this country or in specific cities. It is really about how well are we able to promote Egypt, because I mean, we can look at Egypt in different ways. I mean, you have the ecotourism. I mean, for those who like to scuba dive or would like to enjoy the beach. You have Islamic tourism for those who would like to look at Islamic and Arab artifacts. You have Coptic tourism. You have no doubt the monuments, whether at Giza, Luxor, or Aswan. So I think Egypt has no shortage of places where you have to be tourism. So it's what we have to look at is not more of a totalitarian or global approach on how to promote Egypt. It's basically, which Egypt do you want to promote? Because there is, I always have to say, and this is what a message that I always tell to those people who like to visit Egypt, there is something for everybody in this country. I mean, there is not a one package Egypt that you have to do. You don't have to do the pyramid, the Nile, and then you go home. No, I mean, you can. I have several people coming, okay, we don't want to do a lot of the cultural tourism, we want to go there and enjoy the beach. There is beautiful beaches in Egypt. There are places where you can enjoy. Well, if people want to enjoy the nightlife, there's nightlife in Egypt. I want to enjoy the Islamic center and culture. I want to enjoy the Coptic culture. So, it's a message. What I'm trying to get at is to
How to segment the campaign. The more that you segment, the more that you do targeted marketing, the better that you're going to get your audience.
Well, economic expert as well as parliament member representing the Omraniya district, Mr. Mohamed Foad, thank you very much for this interview.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, and we will be continuing on Nile Cruise after the break, so stay with us.